Well, we've talked a lot about protecting an intellectual property. What about the value of an intellectual property?
Well, I've mentioned before that intellectual property has become a central portion of the book of business of many companies. And it's becoming more and more important as we move to the information age. Everything becomes digital and gets online. And intellectual property has a tremendous amount of value. It's said that the Coca-Cola trademark is the single most valuable piece of business property on the planet. It comes with a level of recognition that earns that business a lot of consumers. That they know the Coca-Cola name, they buy it because they see a recognizable name on there. And Coca-Cola has registered that and has now turned that piece of intellectual property into a measurable, sellable piece of individual property. And this is one of the keys to getting registrations is that you take what's an intangible, intellectual property, your copyright, your patent or your trademark. You take those things that are intangible and you turn them into a tangible form by seeking the registration. Once you've gotten your trademark registered, you can actually sell that. You can sell the trademark as part of the business. And a lot of buyers of businesses look for that. Hey, I've got an invention, I got a great idea. I might like to buy it, but do you have a patent for it yet? So by going out and registering your intellectual property, you're able to make something that's ephemeral and hard to see or touch, and you can make it into something concrete. You can make it into an actual physical asset that carries a lot of value. You get in business sales and acquisitions, you have teams of experts hired to evaluate and place a dollar value on the intellectual property assets, the trademarks and the copyrights. And again, these become the central part of the valuation of the business. And one of the important parts of intellectual property is that it's infinitely divisible. Unlike a piece of pie or a cake, I cut a piece out of my piece of cake and now my cake's worth less. Or a truck, you drive it 10 more miles and now it's worth less. Copyright, not the same. You can sell a copy of your music, and because you own the copyright, you've got just as much value in selling the next copy to the next person, and the next 100,000 to the next person, and the next million to the next people. So it's infinitely divisible, and every time you divide it, you don't lose any of the value. You can then take that piece of that copyright and sell the rights to somebody else. This became a big deal for Paul McCartney because Michael Jackson actually came along and bought out the copyrights to all the Beatles songs. The Beatles, when they were young and foolish, had assigned those over to their producer or publisher, and it got passed along down to the point where it became available at auction, and Michael Jackson outbid him for it. So I think he got a valuable lesson in how much worth there can be to the intellectual property and the copyright. And the same is true with trademark. You develop a brand, you develop a product, you attach a name to it, and you start developing clients, customers, who recognize the brand and buy because they recognize the brand. If you are going to sell your business later on, you better have locked in the right to use that name in conjunction with those products so that you can transfer that to the buyer. And that becomes a valuable asset that the buyer wants. Hey, not only do you have a book of business now, you've got the potential to keep dividing this intellectual property without ever losing any value over and over again. That's something I want to buy if I'm buying this business. I want to buy that, and I want to know that it's been protected.